Hey everyone, it's QuickyBaby, and last week I went to snowy Minsk in Belarus where I was attending a conference at Wargaming with Tanya. And all in all, while I didn't really get a huge amount of exclusive information, one of the most interesting presentations that Wargaming made was going to be on future maps that will be coming to the game. And while I'd like to clarify that these maps that you're going to be seeing are in very early development and are subject to change even if they do manage to find the light of day, I thought maybe some of you would be interested in what I found out and what my initial impressions are. And what I'm going to be showing you in the video today will be 3 new maps codenamed Minsk, Poland, and Asian Map, as well as the return of Province that a lot of you veterans might remember, and some dramatic changes to the Pilosane map. So firstly, let's take a look at Province, and I guess this is going to be branded as the Italian map. Maybe it will come out in conjunction with the Italian medium tanks. Now, the problem with Province back in the day is that it just turned into this slugfest. One team are lined up on one side of the valley, another team are lined up on the other side of the valley. No one really wanted to push over, and it just turned into a stalemate. To address this, Wargaming have tried lots of different iterations of the Province map in either closed testing or I guess on the super test server to see if they can get it to work. And obviously the key idea here is to try and get teams to go to the other side of the valley and then to turn it into a north-south fight rather than an east-west fight. To enable that to happen, we can see that early on they were trying to test a corner of the map to try and get fighting here and here, where I guess they would turn it into like a circle engagement to see who could reach the enemy base first. The map progressively went through more and more changes to try and encourage players to progress the fight, and eventually they ended up with this final version. So Province is going to be a 1000 by 1000 meter map, whereas previously it was 600 by 600 meters. And whenever you increase a map in size by that much, and when you take into account Wargaming's rendering system in the game that you can't really see past, 564 meters, then that likely means that there are going to be areas of the map that you just won't be able to render the enemy tanks. Now, all the way through the presentation, Wargaming were talking about how they try and target different tank types at different locations on the map. And what Wargaming want to happen is the southeasterly team to push across here and then fight their way along what they're calling a serpentine road, and the team that spawns in the northwest to do the same, cross the valley, fight their way along the serpentine road. And they've created these 2 zones, an offense zone in the northeast corner and in the southwest corner. And the idea is that the team will push across and then control this offense zone and then fight out against this defense zone, where I guess a lot of the enemy team will make their way to try and stop them from getting towards the cap circle. They've also designated areas where they believe that where tank destroyers are going to locate and then try and get shots across the valley, maybe at the defensive locations to try and support the assault. And on their next slide, they clearly show this crossfire, but I don't know. If this map is 1000 meters by 1000 meters, I'm not sure if tanks are really going to be shooting across all the way up to the other side. Nevertheless, until I actually get my hands on this map and see, I can only theorycraft about what possibly might happen. Now, of course, the problem with a map like this is that while it looks absolutely fantastic when you designate the different areas of the map for defending against the assault and where you get to secure the position and then mount the assault, let's just hope this isn't going to turn into another Erlenberg, right? Nobody fights Erlenberg from north to south unless it's an assault map. Everybody just wants to camp on their side, and I just really worry that maybe everybody's going to want to try and camp or maybe counter the assault and then just turn it into a north-south fight again, or at least a north-south fight from this perspective of the map. Wargaming followed this up with a few views of the sniper mode. Obviously these aren't the final graphics of the Province map, I guess they haven't been made fully HD. Here's the offense zone. So this is where the team that spawns over here is going to make their way across and then try and dig in up here. Yeah, you can see that this is actually going to be very easy to assault from. Once you get here, apart from self-propelled gunfires, you can work these ridges here and just dominate everything across. And as long as they don't have too many buildings protecting the flanks of these tanks, they're going to get shot from tank destroyers over here. So it'll be very interesting to see how it works out. So next up, Wargaming are talking about the HD version of Pilosane. And a lot like Province, they are just making it bigger, ladies and gentlemen. Pilosane currently in the game just feels a little bit too cramped and not enough room for, I guess, the more sneaky tank destroyers, light tanks, and even arguably some medium tanks, especially the mid to long range support mediums, to work it out. And so here we can clearly see that they have completely changed the eastern part of the Pilosane map. Here's that central hangar that you push through, and clearly you're going to be able to leave the central hangar towards the west of it, at least from this perspective. And the western fight, where all of the heavy tanks love to locate, has now been separated to the point where this might be a little bit harder to cover the distance between the two hangars. I guess Wargaming argue that this is going to create a new light and medium tank fighting zone, which was just oh so cramped in the previous version of Pilosane, and then maybe more tank destroyers are going to try to go to the back of the southeast and the northeast, respectively, and try and support those medium and light tanks. And now that you can enter and leave the hangar from the western part of it as well, I guess this is going to make this a more involving location. Looks like they've also possibly increased the area towards the southwest and maybe the northwest here, where I presume the self-propelled guns are going to hang out. So things to highlight about the heavy tank fighting zone here is that it's just been made oh so much wider, and this arguably means that self-propelled guns are going to be able to challenge heavy tanks that are trying to camp on the other side of the hangar. And if you want to get self-propelled gun cover, I guess you need to try and advance as quickly as you can to the opposite side. And also, as I mentioned, the area towards the central hangar has been opened up, so that's going to be an opportunity to either flank out, maybe you could go through there in a medium tank and breach through, or alternatively go and support the medium tank in your heavies without having to trundle all the way back and across. The light and medium tank zone, I guess, are these kind of spoil heaps. I don't know if this is coal or if it's just whatever's going on. This is definitely iron and this is definitely sulfur. But this looks like a fun playground for medium and light tanks to play around on, and also I guess some heavies which have good gun depression. Wargaming also stated that these will be fully traversable, and so you're going to be able to go straight over them, I guess, if you've got some good traction and some good engine power. Next up, Wargaming are adding in some bushes at the back of the map, so if you're a sneaky self-propelled gun, or more likely a tank destroyer, you go hide in these and get some shots off. And as I mentioned, the central hangar has been opened up, and it looks like maybe artillery is going to be more relevant on Pilosane, so possibly this will become more like an Ensk or a Runeberg than a closed off Himmelsdorf for artillery. Next up, we're going to be taking a look at a brand new map that I had never seen before I went to Minsk, and it is the Minsk Map. It's going to be 1,000 meters by 1,000 meters, and immediately when I saw it, I thought kind of like a bit like a Runeberg, right? One of the cool things about this map, however, is that it is based on reality. You've got the Minsk Circus here, a big Ferris wheel, which I haven't had the pleasure of going on yet, the TV tower, and of course, Victory Square is modeled, and that'll be very impressive driving around that. And I believe that's with there's an eternal flame here that they always keep lit. You can even go underneath here, at least in real life, but I presume you won't be able to do that in the game. So as with the previous two maps during the presentation, Wargaming were very clearly trying to state that during the development that they're thinking about the different areas that tanks will play on. And I guess they feel that the mediums and the light tanks are going to try and flank down the west, and also that light tanks are going to try and fight down the street in the middle. I guess there'll be some bushes along here, probably, that they're going to be able to get some vision out for. This area looks like a fantastic playground for mediums and light tanks. Whereas heavy tanks are going to try and focus down the east, where there's a load of buildings and open grassy areas that you're going to try and push through. And they've also trying out what they're calling a flanking zone, which is an additional line of buildings just towards the outside of the map that I guess will give an alternative route from the traditional heavy zone. Next, they showed us a few screenshots of where they feel the medium tanks are going to fight, where the light tanks are going to fight. Yeah, I'm already seeing some bushes I want to work with. But I wonder how useful these bushes are if there's so much vegetation on the other side. Almost feels like there needs to be just one line of bushes that you can try and work, but we'll have to see how that works out. And here's the heavy tank zone with the stereotypical Stalinistic design of the buildings here, a big square with a grassy communal area in the middle, and then they showed us the AT-SPG, aka the tank destroyer zone, yeah, sitting at the back of the map. Trees and bushes placement will be changed. Okay, that's good to know. And then this is interesting. This is the flanking zone that Wargaming are talking about. And this flanking zone is meant to work along the outside of the heavy tank zone. So heavy tanks are meant to try and fight from north to south here, so to say, along these buildings. And then this area here is the flanking zone that we can see along here. And I guess what Wargaming are trying to suggest is that you can go through the buildings maybe, then try and push through, and then eventually what you can do is maybe use the windows here. If there are windows there, that'd be fantastic to try and flank along here, get in the windows, and then shoot all the heavies in the side. That would be immensely rewarding if that is possible. Okay, next up, another new map which is just being called Asian Map at the moment. And I guess this is happening because next patch they're also removing, is it called Sacred Valley, the Korean map? And they'll have removed Pearl River, Dragon's Ridge, Sacred Valley, Hidden Village, all of the Asian maps that went in the game that just killed off the server. So I presume that they want to try and get one into the game as quickly as they can. And the map that they presented was kind of like a harbor. Reminds me a little bit of the port map that has also been removed of the game. Just continues to blow my mind how many maps that at least I used to love playing on have been removed from the game now, and I guess Wargaming are trying to take what they've learned from them, hopefully, and try and build upon it, but whether that's going to happen or not, we're just going to have to see. They don't really have a very good track record with their maps recently, considering that Kharkiv, Stalingrad and Paris, I'm not sure if they're great looking maps, and you've got to like the historical aspects to them. Whether they're the best for the gameplay is another question. And so, Asian map, how is it going to break down? Where here we can see one cap circle to the right and one cap circle to the left. Heavy tank gameplay is going to be focused around the ships, I guess. And it looks like there's also a big hangar, maybe, a big building that you can go in through along there. Medium tank gameplay zone is apparently in the center of the map. I'm not sure if I agree with them about this, but there is one very interesting novel feature that I'm going to come on to in just a second, and that is a tunnel for the first time. They're saying a tunnel for heavy tanks. Okay, so apparently mediums are going to skulk around while the heavies just go all the way around here and go through the tunnel. Okay, we'll have to see if that works out. And light and medium tank gameplay, okay, I agree with that. And then they're going to encourage the tank destroyers to try and flank around the northern edge of the map to try and provide support. Here we can see the heavy tank gameplay zone. Yes, clearly a hangar like I thought. Doesn't seem to be ways into it. Do you really have to go across the bridges here? You're going to be very open. Imagine if they just sit some Jagdpanzer or a self-propelled gun at the back. That's going to be quite tricky to be able to push through, right? Okay, so here's the medium tank gameplay zone, and here's the tunnel. Have they tried to make that a face? Is it me, or is it some kind of skeleton doing that? Like, yay! He's squeezing his way through the tunnel. Okay, I'm just seeing weird things, obviously. A few planes there as well on the Asian map. But that tunnel, ooh, maybe they're going to show more of it in a second. There you go, tunnel. Now, of course, this isn't what it's going to look like going into the game. This is very, very early development, and I was quite surprised they actually allowed me to show these pictures, but maybe something to get a little bit hyped for, and they said there was no NDA on it. At least I hope there is, otherwise I'm going to be getting a very angry email probably about it. And this tunnel for me, it's just so obvious yet also exciting for some reason. There are no tunnels in World of Tanks. How bizarre is that? I guess that's because, oh, how easy would it be if you're just in a big old heavy tank to stop it, or alternatively just put the biggest, heaviest tank there in the middle of the tunnel, and then no one's going to be able to push through. Back in the day, a tank like a Mouse or even a Tog could just block the bridge altogether by lining up on it on a map like Erlenberg, and they didn't even have the fords on Erlenberg for you to be able to cross. However, now that there's the tank physics in the game, I guess you'll be able to push it out the way, but I have to see how it's going to work out. Next, we have the light and the medium tank gameplay zone. This looks a lot like Hidden Village when you think about it, ladies and gents, with the buildings, although they're not quite so dense. I didn't mind the fighting on Hidden Village. I thought it was quite a fun map, personally. And here's the tank destroyer zone. They hide in the bushes, they shoot through the bush, they pull back behind the bush. Okay, I see how it's going to go. Ooh, spoilers for the Polish map there. There's one thing I'd like to highlight about the tunnel, though, and that is that, remember, so mediums are meant to be able to hang around, and then heavies push through the tunnel. I can't get over seeing that face there. Once I've seen it, I'm going to have to cover it so I can't actually see it on my screen. No, I'm sorry. I digress. Let me focus on the video here again. Look, if you have medium tanks kind of skulking around over on the hill and the ridgeline and whatnot, and the heavies go through the tunnel, that would be so amazing if you could just sneak up on your opponents and then go BAM! Through the tunnel. But you know what's going to happen? There's going to be proxy spotting, right? So you're not really going to be able to use the tunnel to sneak through and then make a huge hurrah when you go through and get a gigantic ambush shot off. They're going to be waiting for you to come through that tunnel to either track you, to lock you in place, or just put on some big rounds into you, or even from above. Such a shame about the proxy spotting of 50 meters in World of Tanks. I understand it makes sense, but it'd be so cool if they could just turn it off for this map. How ludicrous would that be? I've just got this dream of going through a tunnel and using it as a sneaky way to get through, some kind of stealth game in a way, but yeah, probably not. Either way, I think it's a cool idea. Whether it works out or comes to fruition, we'll have to see. Next up, Wargaming showcased a Polish map, and wow, this is very big and very open, 1000 by 1000, the standard size they're kind of going for. So I guess when I say very big, I just mean from the actual playable area. It looks like you can go everywhere. There's no hills, no mounds, no no messing around with impassable terrain, right? I presume this thing's going to play out quite a lot like a Prokhorovka, and there's only one area for heavies to be able to hide behind, and that is in the center of the map. You can see this kind of very small oil refinery, or whatever it is, some kind of farming area right in the middle of the map. And I guess we're going to see every single heavy tank gravitate towards here to try and hide from the self-propelled guns. But I wonder if this is in the middle of the map. It doesn't really look like it's in the middle, so does that mean all the southern tanks? Oh no, wait a minute, the spawns are towards the east and the west. Okay, so all of the heavy tanks are going to go south, hide around here. Maybe the medium tanks will double on around the back and then fight here and try and shoot the heavies in the side. Can they shoot the heavies in the side, or is there some kind of a ridge line that protects them? A little bit hard to see. This is also giving me vibes of the map that was removed from the game, Komarin. Anyone remember Komarin? The far north or the far south of Komarin? I'm kind of getting those vibes for around here. And Wargaming is suggesting that light tanks are going to battle for vision supremacy in the center of the map, I guess getting the self-propelled guns firing, and that tank destroyers are meant to sit at the back of the map as per usual. And so Poland probably looking like the world's biggest, openest Prokhorovka-Malinovka battle. But you know what? I think it's about time we had a couple more maps like this in the game, because really when we think about it, it's been city map, city map, city map, city map, and the maps that they're presenting, i.e. Province, the Asian map, the Minsk map, they kind of look like they're going to be quite orientated towards close quarters combat as well. So I think we need at least one more big open map in the game to give those light tanks and medium tanks something to play around with. Next up, Wargaming detailed what is the status of other maps that are currently not on the 1.0 test server that you'll know about. Firstly, the Klondike Map. I guess this is one for the Grand Battles game mode, right? Which I haven't even played once because I've disabled it. Most boring game mode Wargaming's put in the game, I think. Apparently it's in development, and I guess it'll be going into the game as soon as they make it in HD. Next up, Wide Park. This is one that they apparently want to keep, ladies and gentlemen. It's in development to be either changed or put into HD, I presume. Next up, Kharkiv. It's in the level design prototyping stage, so I guess they feel that there are significant changes that need to be made to the map. But remember, this was a historical map, and so it's a bit weird that they're going to have to change that historical element away from Kharkiv, but I guess if it's for the best. I really don't mind this map too much, I guess because I don't play too many self-propelled guns, but it is a little bit frustrating for a light tank player. Next up, Highway. It's not going to be in 1.0, but it is in their plans. I personally really like this map. It's one of my favorites for playing in a medium and a light. It's not even too bad for your heavy tanks, and I'd like to see Wargaming try and focus on this one personally. Swamp is going to be out of rotation, and I presume they've got no plans for it in the future. And that's not a bad thing with the current meta of the map, i.e. just rushing through the center. And they'll have to make some big changes to it if they ever wanted to bring it back, but it's not one of their focuses. Next up, Windstorm. Another map which I really don't mind too much. It's going to be a shame to see this one just be cut from the list. Next up, Mitten Guard. Oh wow, the bane of tier 2 players that don't have view range at the start of the battle, right? There's going to be no love lost with this thing being lost from the game. And also Stalingrad out of rotation, Sacred Valley out of rotation, as I stated. And I personally didn't really mind Sacred Valley too much, apart from the terrible boosts that they had up the top at one point. And one thing that always worries me is this is a lot of the variety of the game being taken out for me personally. I love the amount of maps that there are in World of Tanks, but I also accept that I'm a very special player with regards to how many games I've played. It's abnormal how much I play World of Tanks, I guess, over the years. And that for a lot of the newer players and the players who maybe haven't played the maps as much, they're a little bit too confusing because there's too many of them, and Wargaming want to standardize the maps, and especially considering they want to put them in HD, they have to focus on the better ones. And so while it's personally a shame to lose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 maps out of the rotation with no new maps going in for 1.0, at least for now, I hope that Wargaming don't forget that one of the huge strengths of their game is the variety of World of Tanks. And I would challenge them to try and at least bring back a few of these maps just for special occasions, even for a patch or two to just add some excitement into the game. And even, you know what, I would absolutely love some of the lost maps of World of Tanks to come back, because for me personally, it's the variety that keeps me hooked on this game. And while I do like the look of the 3 new maps and the 1 returning map that Wargaming presented, we're just going to have to wait and see how long it's going to take for them to go into the game. So ladies and gentlemen, that's about it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, or maybe it was just useful for you. If it was, give it a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know in the comments what you think about the 3 new maps that Wargaming presented, and also the returning map province and the changes they're going to make to Pilsenj. Ooh, which one's your favorite and why? And what do you feel about the status of the old maps and just losing them from the game, at least for now and possibly forever? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.